Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council. It is Monday, March 21st, 2022, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
Councilor Reed.
She is excused this evening.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Smith.
Here.
Councilor Starr.
Here.
Councilor Duran.
Here.
Youth Councilor Coleman.
And she is also excused this evening. Thank you very much. If you are able, I invite you to rise and invite you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. This evening, we are going to start with special orders of business. It is a proclamation for National Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is in April. I'm going to invite up Tanya Hamilton to do a presentation, and then we will issue the proclamation.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Starr invited me. She's also a part of this committee, so I'm going to have her join in to support with information that I might miss. I'm going to take you on a little ride. We're going to start on a little high point on the work that we're going to do in preparation for April. We're going to hit a low point because the reality of what we're doing is connected to children in our community. And then I'm going to put you on another high point of what you can do and how you can get involved with this work for the month of April, and then on throughout the rest of the year and forward. So to start, everyone has a role to play in prevention of child abuse and neglect. You can support people in your community, family, friends, church, all these different variety of places that we can impact and make a difference in our community. Before I get started in the excitement for the month, want to talk to you about the committee members. We have a variety of different nonprofits and organizations who are committed to this work, listed here. Options, we have the Marion Polk Hub, DHS Self-Sufficiency, we have Liberty House, CASA, Family Building Blocks, and I didn't even start out. Yes, my name is Tanya. And I'm representing not only a member of Keizer, but also a Family Building Block staff member. So I'm here as a representative of all of those different hats. So sorry, I like to just dive right in and I forget all of those pieces.
You know, I said about the work.
It's me, Tanya Hamilton. You should have known. See, right here. So thank you again. So great partners who have been doing this work for years. Shani has been on the team for a long time, along with a lot of our colleagues. New is Brandon Lemon, who's a lead that is stepping up from the Y. Amazing, creative group of individuals, and we're excited about some of the activities that we have coming up. This is kind of an iconic picture. That is, when I saw it, I was kind of excited. I'm like, what is happening in that tree and what does this represent? As I got closer, I started to be able to read the signs at the bottom of the tree. This tree identifies how many children we've identified in the state of Oregon who have founded cases of abuse and neglect. So instantly I became like just kind of, I just was silenced and just dumbfounded by this. It is very eye-catching, but also really appalling, and I'm really, really concerned, and that's why this is so important. So in 2020, we had 11,642 confirmed victims of child abuse and neglect in Oregon. So this year, that's how many ribbons will be identified on the tree down at the Capitol. 1,171 confirmed victims in Marion County. And the major concern with this is that 43% of those victims were younger than the age of 6. So anyone here know how much the brain is developed between prenatal to 5? 90%. So this is a trajectory that's setting our youngest children up, and it's not really setting them up to be successful. So that's what, again, we all play a part in how we can prevent this from happening. Also, this is the part that I was going to talk to you about. You might be noticing that the numbers are a little bit different from last year. And so Shani, or Councilor Starr, would you talk to us a little bit about the context of that?
Sure, thank you, Tanya. I think it's really important for us to remember when we look at these numbers. These are numbers that are indicative of the first year of the pandemic when we were in a lockdown. When you look at the data of calls of concern that went into the Oregon Child Abuse Hotline, in the first 6 months after the lockdown started, our calls of concern to the Child Abuse Hotline went down by 70%. 70%. The number of investigations that happened as a result of those calls decreased yet another 40%. And the reason that those numbers were declining during the pandemic is because our children were, they were locked down. They were in homes that were not safe and that were not healthy. And I think the important thing to remember is next year when you see these numbers, they might go up slightly, but again, remember 2021 was the second year of the pandemic and the lockdown. So I just wanted to give that context. Thank you for asking about that, Tanya. Those are pretty alarming statistics, and I can tell you that the kids that we are seeing come into care during the pandemic, the cases were really, really, really severe and very, very complex, and just horrible levels of abuse.
So 2020, limited access to schools. Children were completely contained in their homes. And as a nonprofit that serves children in their homes, we weren't going in homes. We were providing calls and audio or video visits. And so there just wasn't as much eyes in supporting families at that time. And we're noticing that the rates of domestic violence and things, just high amounts of stress being in the home, that are playing a part of some of these challenges with families. So that was the low point, right? All of those numbers are connected to children's faces, faces that you see as you drive around Keizer and Marion County. So let's talk about how you can be involved to prevent and do something about this, yes? We want you to connect with children in our community, connect with your neighbors, connect with children in the grocery store as you're standing there and maybe Johnny or whomever is having a small tantrum. Instead of looking past or walking by like not paying attention, maybe say hi. Ask mom or dad if they need a hand. Talk to children about another one, safe touches. Liberty House does a fantastic job of providing education about how to prevent unhealthy touching, those types of things. Recognizing that you are a mentor and can be a support to somebody in our community. Support organizations that are partners of this work, Family Building Blocks, CASA, Liberty House, the Y. These are all organizations that are committed to doing this prevention work, and we'd love to have you or your friends or families become volunteers at our organization. Don't feel like you can't do anything. Join the community effort, and let's put our children first. Prevention happens when you become aware and start acting and make that action possible. We are all responders, even though we're not required as mandatory reporters, but we all can communicate when we're seeing concerns in our community. Call that hotline. Law enforcement also, mandatory reporters, district attorney's office. Just going through all the slides. So this isn't a question that you have to answer, but I hope that you're reflecting on is, what are you going to do? What will you do? And that's not just you as city council members, but also our community. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to step up, make that commitment, and put it into action? Another way is to paint our town blue for the awareness. So we're wanting you to wear blue. We want business owners, community members to be proud that we are doing this prevention work and out there by showing our support and wearing blue. It just so happens that Family Building Blocks signature color is blue. But if we can all do this together, we can all spread the impact and how we can do this together. What's cool is because of the pandemic, which was not cool, there was some creative thoughts that came from this. And Brandon Lemon was one of the kind of creators of this. But last year we started doing a car parade, and we thought it was really cool. We're going to continue it. So we would love to have you Friday, April 1st. We're going to start early. So I think you show up at earlier than 8:15, because I think the parade leaves at 8:15. So there is a link. I don't know if it was given to Debbie, but there is a link that you can click on. Yes?
Yep, I got it. Yep.
Perfect, okay.
It's on our website.
Perfect, wonderful, thank you. Click on that, just let us know that you're coming so we can identify all the stuff that we need for you to decorate your car. And then you jump in your car and we're gonna drive around in a parade honking, kind of bringing awareness. And then we're gonna stop at the Capitol and we're gonna put those pinwheels to say that this is enough. And we're not only gonna do it and have that commitment, we're gonna make sure that our legislature knows and that their work, that when they walk by that, they're gonna see us all gathered together, putting those pinwheels in as a representation that we're going to do something and make this do everything we can to make this happen for children in our community. There's other ways to help. I don't need to go over that. And that's all I have. Questions?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the tremendous work that you and all of our community partners are doing for the health and safety of the children and the families in our community. Very much appreciated. Any other wrap-up comments on how people can continue to be involved? And as for being mandatory reporters, thanks to a change in legislation, we are.
Wonderful.
So we had to go through the training with other mandatory reporters. So,
Great.
Councilor Starr? You're good. With that, Councilor Herrera, sorry, I was looking at Herrera. Councilor Kohler.
Good-looking guy.
I know.
That's why they put me in the corner.
I knew there was a reason.
It wasn't just for the hat. Councilor Kohler.
So I've been involved in Salem Hospital for quite a number of years, and they also actively put the pinwheels up around campus. And it's nice to see the support from a lot of different people. So any of those that can, I would encourage to come and participate in the parade. I'm sorry, I'll be out of town, but what a great way to support.
Thank you very much. Now, Councilor Herrera.
Okay, yes. Tanya, I just want to thank you for your work and, being affiliated with the school district, I've taken all the training on that regards, but one of the things I was worried about during the pandemic is exactly what we talked about.
Right.
Two particular kids in my world, and I was right. So it's very sad, but everybody can do something.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. By the way, thanks for all the committee work, your
Yes.
volunteer work, and your great posts too.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if there's opportunities to do training and so forth, I know the city of Keizer is continuing to be a community partner with our space, and we know that Keizer shows up. So there's ways we can make a difference every day.
Awesome.
With that, at this point, if you would stay there, I want to read the proclamation, present you a copy, and have Councilor Starr join me, and then we will be leaving one copy here that will be on display for the month of April as we continue to raise awareness for child abuse prevention. Whereas every child deserves to live in a safe, loving, and caring family environment, and whereas in 2020, there were 11,642 reported victims of child abuse and neglect in Oregon, of which 1,171 were victims in Marion County. And whereas we stand together as individuals, organizations, and government agencies to commit to preventing child abuse in our county by raising awareness through the community and by educating and supporting caregivers. And whereas we assert that strong families and safe, stable, and nurturing environments free from violence, abuse, and neglect are essential for children's optimal growth and success. And whereas the people of Keizer believe in and work for ensuring a secure future where the needs of children are a priority and the needs of families are met. And whereas we are thankful for the many Keizer volunteers, organizations, and service providers that work together every day to take action to support families and children and protect the well-being of our children. Now, therefore, I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Keizer, together with the Keizer City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and ask all the people of Keizer to commit to continuing our efforts for protecting our children. In witness whereof, I have herein to set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be set this day, 21st day of March 2022. Child Abuse Prevention Month. Councilor? there's going to be photos.
Oh, this one? Okay.
Keizer, yep.
Hold it.
Okay, ready, set. Ready, set.
Good, awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you. Tanya, have one there now. Leave this one up here, so it'll be on display. We will now go to committee reports. We have 3 folks signed up for committee reports. We'll start off with Ron Burson with the Planning Commission report. Good to see you, Mr. Burson.
Go ahead and remove this since I'm by myself up here. Mayor Clark, City Councilors, my name is Ron Burson. I'm on the Planning Commission and here to give you a report on where we're at, or what we've been doing, I guess, is we are still working on the middle housing, updates to the city code. And as you can imagine, it's a pretty difficult and long and laborious kind of work, but our consultants have worked with us. We're down to, I believe, a pretty good draft. I think you folks are going to see it here pretty quick, and then we're getting really close to actually starting to have the invite the public in for comment. And I would really encourage people to come down and look at this, because like I say, it really affects every piece of property in Oregon. As you know, there was a couple of Senate bills, or House Bill 2001 and Senate Bill 458 that changed, that basically said any place you can put a single-family house, you can also put multi-family housing. And so it's trying to increase some, affordable housing in Keizer. So it's really important that people come down to the Planning Commission and tell us what they think about this draft, because, like I said, it's a huge project. There's going to be mistakes made. We're probably going to have to come back and change some things, but the more that we can catch at the beginning, I think the better off that we're going to be. So that's really my report to the council, unless, like I say, they have any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Burson on the Planning Commission? I really appreciate the detail of this work. It is a huge dive into our development code, but adding affordable housing, adding housing options within Keizer is absolutely critical. So we really appreciate all the hard work that's going into that.
Yeah, it's been quite the process. I think we've had 3 or 4 meetings on that already, and I think one of them went past 9 o'clock at night. So we've been working hard. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I really encourage the people to come down and see and make their comments on the work, because it's really their chance to tell us where we're missing the ball. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up is Parks Report, Gwen Carr.
My name is Gwen Carr, and I'm on the Parks Advisory Board, and it's my turn this month to give the report. Our meeting lasted 1 hour and 12 minutes, and anybody that's been to a Parks meeting knows that's a very long meeting, but we got a lot worked on. So, Tammy Coons and her neighbors are forming a neighborhood association in Northwest Keizer. Mike Whitnam and Claggett Creek are in their area. Mike Whitten Park, several people want to see some small play structures and stuff and some benches. Robert Johnson said our master plan's already updated, but he'll see what he can do to accommodate her and the neighbors. Michelle Rowland Worst, along with her artist, Planel Bitter, provided details on the mosaic proposed for the splash pad. There was concerns for vandalism and graffiti. They were brought up. He assured us that it would be able to be cleaned with a cleaner and water, and it was sturdy and could stand up to the weather. Matt Lawyer moved to approve grant not to exceed $9,550 and encouraged the Arts Commission to continue to fundraise. Motion passed unanimously. I said Bob Newton Park is very, very soggy, so Robert gave me details about an Eagle Scout that's wanting to put some drainage in that area, because every time you go there, it's just like a bog. There's been major vandalism 2 to 3 times a month at the parks. We all discussed how to curtail it by enlisting the kids, the school, and the parents involved in this. 27 new trees have been planted, making it 58 new trees planted this year. Its landscape company is leveling, irrigating, and hydro seeding open fields near the boat ramp. And then Consular Store reported that the chamber asked to hold Keizer Fest at the Keizer Rapids Park in August. So we've had a lot of discussions and stuff, so that's why it lasted so long. It's a great team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions? All right, well, thank you so much, and thank you for the work on our parks.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me be on the parks.
And Public Arts Commission, Lori Christopher and Kim Steen. Speaking of art.
Sorry, I got a wonky foot. Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Mayor and City Council. My name is Lori Christopher, and I'm a Keizer resident and a board member on Keizer Public Arts Commission. With me is Kim Steen, also a Keizer resident and our president of Keizer Park Advisory Council. So we're here to talk about item 8C, which is the mosaic and the little kerfuffle that has happened since that money was awarded to us. So I want to tell you a story. We put before you, as we bring all art before you and tell you what we're doing, we brought before you a mosaic that was proposed to be on the splash park in Chalmers Jones Park, used to be City Hall Park, Chalmers Jones Park, right out here. And it was from an artist that actually the mayor brought to us, Didier Plenaire. And so he designed this mosaic. We brought it to you. You said, yes, great idea, go forward, do well. So we hadn't even had that in our fundraising timeline when Debbie Lockhart contacted us to say there was leftover money in the Parks Board. All of the projects and all of the grants that had been applied for had been resolved, and there was money left over, and we might be able to move forward with this art project in the park. So we scrambled to put it together, and our person that wrote it, Michelle, would be here tonight. But as it turns out, it's pretty darn tough to compete with spring break, Counselor Reed, youth counselor, and Michelle. So it's pretty hard to compete with spring break. So here we are. So we put together a package, and I think you were there, Kim. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Kim was there, and so was Michelle, and the project was unanimous. And the Keizer Community Foundation donated 10% to the project, which was $1,100. And Keizer KPAC donated $500 to the project because we take care of art in this city, and so all the money we had left was $800. And we have a little sign thing we have to fix, so we only had $500, but we're committed to the project. So together, that's a 15% match, which means it's an 85% match for the Parks Board. To use money that was previously undesignated, you have 90 days left in this budget year to spend that money, or that money goes away for parks improvement projects and goes into the general fund. So we're asking you today to approve that. Two things came up. Bill Lawyer sent me an email and said, here's the problems. It's a reimbursement grant, which means somebody has to put the cash up and be reimbursed. So this all happened very quickly. This was just last week. Bill was you were on vacation when this all happened, right? That's why we're scrambling to put it together. And we need time to give the artist time to get the art installation completed by June 30th at the end of the budget year. So it has to be a reimbursement grant. There's two ways that that can happen. One is that the Keizer Community Foundation can front the cash and it can be reimbursed that way. And we have not had time to get them all together to approve this. So I would step forward and say, if there's not support for doing that, I'd be happy to front the cash. And then the money can come back to me as a reimbursement grant, except for the amounts that the Keizer Community Foundation and KPAC has donated. There was some concern that there had to be a 50% match, but I thought, and I know that Matt Lawyer, the chair of the Keizer Parks Board, thought that that was a suggested amount, and historically that has happened. But let me tell you how that has happened. It has happened through in-kind labor, because typically we have wonderful citizens who are willing to step forward and give you their labor in exchange for money for supplies. Well, you can't do that with professional art projects, because Kim and I don't know how to set mosaic tile. Otherwise, we'd be happy to do so. It has to be done, and you want it done. These are professional art installations that are going to be in our park for a long period of time. So you want it done by a professional. Certainly, we're going to be there to help Didier in any way that he needs. So only reason we're here today is to say, you've got the reimbursement issue taken care of. What you have to vote on now is, do you commit 85% or $9,550 to improving our parks by putting a cultural art project in Chalmers Jones Park? And we'd be happy to answer any questions, although Kim is scared.
She's better with four-legged. Any questions on the proposed mosaic project over at Chalmers Jones Park? Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick comment. I understand the gentleman is Puerto Rican, Keizer-based, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
He relocated here from Puerto Rico to be with his brother, who then moved to Texas.
Do you have,
It's a true story.
Yeah.
But and he used to teach mosaics. And this is like the first time that we will have a cultural art form in one of our parks. So we're quite excited.
I'm excited too. Okay, here, do you have I must have missed that, but did you see what it's going to look like?
Yes, and
Yes.
you approved it.
Yeah, it was in our packet. Yes.
Yes, you've already seen it. I did not bring it tonight, but Deb can get you one. It's beautiful in shades of blue, like waves
Yeah.
around it.
Didn't we already approve that, or am I wrong?
We did.
That's the pernt.
So this is the approval for the grant itself. This is separate. We approved the art project, but this is the funding for the grant.
It's a
funding.
non-conforming grant, counselor, because historically, most of the grants have been 50% match. And the reason they were able to be 50% match is because it was in-kind labor. We can't do in-kind labor. So we've collected 15% in hard cash match, and we're hoping that you will agree to let us move forward.
I think it's great. So
Thanks.
I wasn't sure it was the same one.
Same one.
I thought we approved it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You betcha.
Thank-
Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It's
Appreciate
really
your
exciting
time.
that we could have a world-class artist like Didier Planel. If anybody's looked up his work, I highly suggest that you do so.
Well, and we're hoping to get him
Yeah.
at Keizer Art Association to teach mosaic classes. And if you really want to know, the Rec and Valor Mentoring, who took over Town and Country Lanes, they're looking for children's programming for the summer. And so we're hoping we can get Didier in there to help the kids make maybe a stepping stone or something. So it's all art, all the time. That's me.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
All
your
right,
time.
thank you. Okay, any other committee reports that I might have missed? I had the 3 sign up. Okay. That will take us then to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled this evening. That is the Keizer Mart liquor license application change of ownership. So if you're here for that, make sure you sign up on the, not a blue sheet, but the sign-in sheet, and we'll get to that shortly. What I'm going to do first, though, is the public written comment. We were given 4 items to acknowledge for the record. However, the first one on the list is a business fundraising request, and that is not comment about issues facing the city of Keizer. So I'm going to remove that at this time, and I can talk with our city attorney if that does need to be included in the record. The others to acknowledge for the record are a letter by Troy Prouty, did not list a residence, and the title was Reawaken Tour. We got a letter from Catherine Lincoln, resident of Keizer, regarding Keizer Library, and a letter from Heather Hawkins, Salem, Keizer, and regional faith leaders, and the topic was Reawaken Tour. So those three will be acknowledged for the record. Set those up there. So as begin our public testimony, I will call people up one at a time. I have the sign-in sheets. And just a reminder of how we do this here is that you will be asked to state your name and your city of residence for the record. You have 5 minutes. It's your turn to talk and ours to listen. And when you are presenting your testimony, you are responsible for the content, even if it was written by someone else. The council will be listening, and if we need to refer anything to staff for follow-up information, we will do so at the appropriate time. I ask that all comments be directed to the chair. Comments impugning the character or motivation of council members, staff, or community members are out of order and they are not permitted. Distractions take away attention from the speaker. Audience and council members are asked to help the councilors focus on the speaker during their time by being respectfully quiet. I did see some signs in the audience, and of course you can use those. However, I would ask that you be at the side so that you do not block the view of anybody behind you. Okay? With that, I will start off with Ron Burson. And after him, we'll be calling Robert Edwards of Salem.
So, Mayor Clark and members of the council, I'd like to speak a little bit about this.
If you could just state your name and city.
My name is Ron Burson. I'm a resident of Keizer, been a resident of Keizer for well over 30 years. I'd like to talk to the mayor and the city council about this rally scheduled on April 1st and 2nd. I have a lot of concerns about this, but really what concerns me is that we have another lease with the Volcano Stadium that it sounds like we have no control over. And that really disappoints me as a citizen of this city, that it seems like no matter who wants to come into the Volcano Stadium, it's really up to the leaseors to decide whether they can come in. So, we'd have no way of stopping, let's say, 5,000 Hells Angels from coming in here, 5,000, just anyway, any other kind of really groups that I just don't think is really in the Keizer spirit to be here. And really, I believe that it's your jobs as counselors to protect us when we have these things, to make sure there are clauses in there that you folks actually have control over this piece of property on who's actually going to attend and what the intentions of that, what's going to happen there. It isn't a public piece of property. It's a private piece of property. It's not like the Capitol where anybody can come down there and protest all they want. But I feel bad for Chief Teague over here. I think his force is going to be challenged a bit over that 2 days. So this is the first time really in, like I say, well over 30 years that I'm really disappointed in the city that we didn't set up some kind of criteria. And so I would really ask that in the future we just try to do better at that. And so I have 256 left. I won't take 256, but I'm also the executive director of the Ethics Commission. And so I wanted to tell all you folks that I hope you got your emails on your statements of economic interest. And if you need any help at all in filing those, feel free to give my office a call. The number there is 503-378-5105. And we're happy to answer your calls and help you with that process. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Mary.
Got mine done.
Me too.
Yep. Yep, SEI is done. All right, thank you very much. Next up is Robert Edwards, and after Mr. Edwards will be Nayali Cruz. And if you, again, your name and your city of residence for the record.
Hello, my name's Robert Edwards. I'm from Salem. I'm a resident of Salem. Lived here 20-something years. I too want to talk about the Reawaken America tour that's coming to town. And in response to the last gentleman's concern, I did receive an email from the interim city manager, Wes Hare. Oh, right there.
He's right here.
This afternoon at 3:37. So it does say, thank you for your recent message regarding the political rally to be held at Volcano Stadium in Keizer. The stadium has been leased to a third party for more than 20 years. And under the terms of the lease, the city has no authority to regulate legal events at the facility. No public funds were used to construct the stadium, and the city takes no part in operating it. The event sponsors will be responsible for security. That's the Proud Boys. That's their security. Sorry to say. There's just no need for this hate group to come to town. These guys, if you do research on Google, anywhere on the internet, and you type in Reawaken America Tour, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, violence-based, anti-LGBTQ. These are some bad people coming to town, and they're going to be packing weapons. Scott McKay is one of the speakers that's pretty prominent, and he's pretty vocal. He gets up on stage and speaks hate, violence, threatening people. He walks around with a tomahawk in his hand and a pistol in his waistband. Back in August, I'm just going to read you something I downloaded today. McKay inserted himself into the Ankeny, Iowa mass debate last August when he devoted an episode of his online Patriot Street Fighter talk show to the Iowa Mama Bears. In the school board video, McKay also promoted the idea of using violence against police officers who enforce coronavirus restrictions. Quote, sooner or later, we the people show up with arms, outbearing you 50-1, McKay said. Quote, then at that point, you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want to go home, or do you not want to go home to your family? There's going to be over 50 speakers at this two-day event. People like Roger Stone, General Mike Flynn, the pillow guy, Mike Lindell. These people just come to town to scare people. They follow the money, $250 a seat for up to 4,000 seats. That's $1 million. These people are money followers. That's it. And they're here to scare us, scare the community, promote violence. Scott McKay again, a speaker at the Reawaken America tour in Phoenix in January. He's a speaker on election, COVID, and QAnon conspiracy theories. He declared war on healthcare providers who he accused of using the COVID-19 pandemic to murder people. McKay, a prominent QAnon conspiracy theory known online as the Patriot Street Fighter, was outraged by the death of a fellow QAnon and anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist, Christian Weldon, earlier that month, and blamed the doctors and nurses at the hospital where she died of COVID for her death. As such, he used the speaking slot on the Reawaken America tour to stalk the stage while brandishing a tomahawk and declaring World War IV is underway. Well, I don't know about World War III, but he's already at 4. So, I'm here to just say this is a bad idea. I don't know what the police presence is going to be. Sounds like the organization has to provide their own security. That's the Proud Boys. They come to town to disturb the community, violence, damage property, and instill mayhem. Christians are afraid, Jewish communities are afraid, people of color are afraid, and I understand this event's going to bring a lot of money to the community. But you guys need to overlook that money and cancel this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Nadia Cruz. Nayeli Cruz. And after Nayeli will be Louise, and it just has the letter V, so I'll get your full name when you come up and speak. So again, if you would introduce yourself with your name and your city of residence. And if you would go ahead with the signs in the back, please, so that people behind you are not blocked. Thank you.
I'm Nayeli Cruz, Keizer, and I'm here to talk also about allowing the Reawakening America tour to be in Keizer. Allowing it to happen here is allowing hate in Keizer. You're saying you can only comment on stuff that affects Keizer residents, and as a Keizer resident, me and my family are affected. All of Keizer BIPOC are affected. This event will not only be a super spreader of COVID, but it will be a super spreader of hate and misinformation and lies. The speakers are racist, full of hate and violence. Redmond decided to cancel this racist and hateful event, and in the Keizer spirit, you should too.
Thank you very much. Next up is Luis V, and if you could bring your whole name, and then behind Luis is Cindy R, and again, we'll need full names. So if your name and your city of residence for the record, please.
Okay. Hello. For the record, my name is Luis, and I'm a community member. My city of residence is
Last
Salem.
name?
Velasco.
Velasco?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I want to start this speech by saying Salem and Keizer is stolen land. It's stolen Kalapuyan land. The colonizers so-called built off of the means of murder, rape, disease, and genocide. And I'd like to take a moment to talk about this local history and to talk about the Trail of Tears. I want to paint a picture for everyone in this room to remember the details about this horrific event, about this history. The Trail of Tears was composed of 100,000 Native Americans. These Native Americans were families, elders, mothers, children, and babies who suffered the blood of the hands of colonizers, of settlers who committed atrocities and caused the death of 15,000 Native Americans, all in the name of the Trail of Tears. I wanted to talk about this history because I want you all, as city councilors, to remember this history and remember whose lands you're really on, whose land was stolen by the means of killing my indigenous brothers and sisters. On April 1st, the Reawaken event that is proposed to happen at the Keizer Volcano Stadium needs to be put to a complete and utter stop. Proposing an event down here in Keizer is nothing short but modern day colonization and manifest destiny. The people that are coming down here, and you all heard it by the previous speakers, are malicious. Disrespectful is not the word, it's beyond that. Because these people are malicious in their approach to propose an event down here on stolen land and the lands of the Kalapuya people. Councilors, do your job and put a stop from this event from happening. Think about the history that you're all sitting on. Think about the stakeholders who make about this community, the BIPOC and working class families, the mothers, the babies, and the children. Use your power to stop this event, to stop the colonization, and to stop the abuse of Native American peoples. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Cindy R. Thank you. And after Cindy R. will be Hannah Shooting Bear. And just your name and your city of residence for the record, if you would, please. Thank you.
My name is Cindy. I live in Keizer.
Last name?
Rodriguez.
Thank you.
So I'm here today as a community member and organizer to speak out about an event that is being held at the Volcano Stadium on April 1st and 2nd. As a Keizer City Council member and in a position of power, it is your duty, it is your job to advocate for the safety of your residents. And this includes your indigenous residents, your Black residents, and other people of color. It should not just include your white residents and audiences. This event is planning to celebrate the genocide, the murder, the ethnic cleansing, and the forceful displacement of Native people. Let me remind you that you are on stolen land. By not speaking out and denouncing this bigoted event only further drives and endorses the biggest threat to society and to your Indigenous, Black, and other people of color residents, and that's white supremacy. This event is also a health hazard. People are still dying of COVID. People still don't have access to health care. There is no end to this pandemic when things like these are allowed to happen. And I've referenced a mural that's in Keizer in the past at one of these meetings, the one by where the old bowling alley was at. And I'll tell you the same thing I told you last time. You can't paint brown and Black people on a mural and paint this made up picture of what this town looks like and what it represents when it's proven that it is very racist. Everyone knows how racist Keizer is. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Next up, please. Hannah Shooting Bear.
I would like to speak last.
Okay, Julianne Jackson. And next up will be, Alex Buron.
Hi, I'm Julianne Jackson. I'm a community activist and parent in Keizer. It sounds like you guys don't have any say-so over what happens with this event, but I just want to share with you my personal experience when people, and I'm sorry, I might get emotional about this, but this is my personal experience when people like this come into our community. They're not just at these events, they're in our businesses, they're in our restaurants, they're driving by our children, they're making people uncomfortable. As a community activist who only uplifts and supports and loves on folks, I have been doxxed personally, I have been physically assaulted. And I am asking you, if this is not something you can do anything about today, learn a lesson when this lease comes up for renewal. Understand that, these are not like, if this was just a patriot situation and we were just happy and talking about Jesus and the country, that's one thing. But these folks are literally claiming war on people that look like me, people that think like me, people that act like me, and we have seen it in the city of Salem. Their crime rises every single time, and it's not who you think it would be. And when we ask law enforcement for help, we don't get it. So even if this is not something you can stop, you can insulate your community by putting your power over in that area and stopping people from coming into our part and keep them away from us. Their security, as he said before, they are Proud Boys. This is not like a security firm that they've hired that know what they're doing, that have any care or consideration for the people that they're going to harm. Zero. And every single time they show up, there's violence. Every single time. Their track record speaks for itself. So consider this. Again, I would love for this event not to take place at all. I will not let my children go outside while this is happening. The odds of us leaving for the weekend are pretty good. And that's not fair. That's a financial burden my family has to take on because we're not willing to be unsafe where we live, where we pay taxes, where we work. That is not okay. So I want you guys to, if you can't stop it, learn the lesson. If you can't stop it, insulate your community from the people that are surely coming here. And they will be crawling throughout this entire city, making life hell for everyone else that looks like me and thinks like me, and that is not okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Alex Buron. Hopefully I read your name right. And after Alex is Sandra Hernandez. And just your name and your city of residence for the record, please.
Okay, so my name is Alex Buron. I live in Salem, and you might ask yourself, why is someone from Salem here at Salem City Council? What goes on in Salem what goes on in Keizer affects people in Salem, of course, especially when you're a person of color. In my community, Keizer is not a safe place for people of color. Speaking Spanish at stores in Keizer is not a safe place. You get looks, you get stares, you get whispers, just speaking Spanish. So Keizer already has an image amongst my community. And maybe y'all haven't heard about that because maybe you might not be friends with people of color. You may have never have eaten dinner with someone of color. But that's why we're here today, to tell you guys that there are some stuff that affects us, and it puts our safety and it creates stress and it creates fear in us. Allowing those folks to come to Keizer only furthers that image for us in this community. And staying silent will only show that that's an image that y'all would want to still keep. Because it's going to be really easy to stay silent. Oh, it's private property. It's a lease. We can't do anything about it. But you guys can speak. You guys have Facebooks. You guys have websites. You guys could say that you guys don't stand for hatred. Or you could just take the easy road and say, it's a complicated situation and I have my hands tied. But you guys have a decision to make. You guys can let us know if you guys stand with us, and we'll make this place a better place. Because there's no disputing this country was made off of genocide and slavery. That's not a controversial statement. That's how this country was birthed. And the actions you guys take today will show us how much you guys care about the people who have been hurt through genocide, colonization, slavery. But like I said, it's going to be really easy for you guys to just, act like there's nothing you could do. Just like when we talk about racism, like we talk about racial profiling, oh, it's really horrible that happened. I'm so sorry you went through that. But this is the time where you guys show us your leadership and speak up. Because too many times elected officials always play that card and say that there's nothing we could have done. It's one of those things that it's just so complicated. So I'm here to tell you guys, stand up for everybody in the community, people of color, people LGBTQ, indigenous people, people with disabilities, undocumented people. Show us that you care about our lives, because staying silent is going to show us the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Sandra Hernandez, and then Hannah Shooting Bear, unless somebody else decides they want to participate. And again, your name and your city of residence for the record, please.
My name is Sandra Hernandez, and here.
There you go, a little closer.
My name is Sandra Hernandez. I reside in Salem, but I do work with young people, youth, who attend Keizer schools and live in Keizer every single day, McNary High School and Claggett Middle School. Outside of the school, I work with them. First of all, I would like to remind you that everybody who's sitting here right now is sitting on stolen land, as people before me have said. Stolen indigenous land. And to honor the truth and to speak the truth, we must acknowledge the history of colonization, genocide, and theft of the Americas. On April 1st and 2nd, as you all have heard, this hateful group will be in Keizer. And to many of us, facing racism isn't anything new. However, allowing this group of people to attend this city, to go about freely preaching hate, will have an impact on the residents of this community. And today, and after today, we will see how this leadership acts in support and in, I don't even want to say support, because a lot of people of color here don't feel supported already, but at least we can feel protected. And I doubt that anything will happen because in the past, very little has been done to protect our communities. But you could prove me wrong. You can prove everything that has said wrong by taking the right stance and not allowing this group to show up. As people before me have said, they are not only coming in a big group to preach hate, but they are also celebrating genocide. Think about that. Think about what that means to this community, to our indigenous people who are living on this land, because indigenous people are being forced to see these people show up. They're being forced to face them in their community, in their land, and their genocide of their communities and their ancestors is going to be celebrated. 6,000 people, at least 6,000 people were killed in the Trail of Tears between 20 years. 6,000 people, only in 20 years. And this is going to be celebrated in this community? What is this leadership going to do about that? I want to know. What is this leadership going to do about grown white men showing up with guns and intimidating people of color, intimidating children, intimidating queer folks, intimidating our transgender community? What will you do about that? I would like for this community to take a stance against hate once again. In 2018, I was here with my community to advocate for this city council to endorse no on Measure 105. And y'all did the right thing. You did it. So do the right thing today. Do the right thing before April 1st and 2nd, and don't allow these people to show up. Because regardless if it's private property, it is indigenous land. It is indigenous stolen land, and no matter what laws or who buys a property, that history can never be erased. So please take the right stand with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You'll have quiet, please. Hannah Shooting Bear. Oh, you have one more? Sure. Why not? Hi, Courtney. Just give that to Debbie over there. Yeah. And just, the routine.
Yeah. It's different than last.
Whatever's comfortable.
Courtney Clendenning, I live in Keizer. I don't have a lot to say. I just want to remind you that on December 7th of 2020, this group passed a resolution. And let me read a part of it for you. Be it further resolved that the city of Keizer repudiates the belief system of white supremacy and condemns racism and is committed to the elimination of all forms of racism everywhere it exists. Be it further resolved that the city of Keizer affirms its commitment to ensure that all members of the community are free from acts that are rooted in racism, discrimination, intolerance, bigotry, and hostility. We will strive to inspire and continually pursue a culture of safety and well-being. That being said, and having listened to the members of your community tell you that they do not feel safe, really rings true to me that there has to be something that this body can do to ensure the safety of all Keizer residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. And then, thank you. And again, just your name, your city of residence for the record, if you would, please.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Shooting Bear. I'm from the side of Salem, but I do have 2 grandchildren that reside here in Keizer. I'm coming to you as an indigenous person. You gotta remember, as people prior to me that has stated, this is Kalapua land, and I will defend it against any type of white supremacy. You got to remember, we got a Shamawa school, native school across the way. We got dead children, our boarding school children that don't need to hear that. We as Native Americans still hear our cries of our children out there. Think about that. When you say you just did a proclamation about child abuse, think about that. Think about our Native children, our indigenous children throughout Turtle Island. I come to you as an elder and as to say, protect our communities. Look what happened when the trucks were in Salem. There were shootings downtown at the mall. This promotes violence. Could you imagine the atrocities that could happen, that could come to the city of Keizer, coming into our businesses, our BIPOC businesses especially? If you're looking at the money, well then, you best get out of your positions, because right now, the people voted you in there. You always remember that. These BIPOC people. And as for, again, thinking what's going to come, always remember that this is Native country. We still have our elders still here. I speak for my elders, especially. They say, make our community aware of this. We do not promote hate. We do not promote racism. When our brothers and sisters from the East Coast that accepted you guys, your ancestors, to our lands, throughout Turtle Island, to the East Coast to the West Coast. I come from a land where I fight. North Dakota, South Dakota, the most racist states in the United States. That's where I come from. And this is why I'm here to fight for our land out there at Volcano Stadium. There's also a petition that Black Joy is circulating. There's already we're only 2 people short from signing it. So you listen to your community. Think about my grandchildren that are multiracial, that reside in this area. Think about our children when you just proclaimed Child Abuse Month this month. So think about that. And think about our elders. Think about our people, our Native people that are here, that are residing both in Keizer and Salem, because it does affect all of the Native community. And as you say here in your piece of paper, to me, this is just a piece of paper. Nothing, there's no borders for me. Coming from me, a Native American. There's no borders. Always remember that. Our elders are here. Our ancestors are still around here. And if you think about your own families, think about our families that are scared. Our elders are scared for our community. That's why I speak for them. So just remember what you wrote here. Whereas we acknowledge the land upon which the people of Keizer live as historical and cultural roots as a native tribal nations. Nations. And that's what you have here in Keizer and Salem, Keizer area. You have multiple types of tribal nations here that reside here in both of our vicinities. So please listen with your hearts, not with your minds, because the mind doesn't protect the heart. And always remember, our Creator is not beyond these walls that we're, making the wrong decision. Creator could look upon you and not think of you. Thank you.
Thank you. That is, thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council before we conclude our public testimony this evening? Brandon Smith. And anybody else who would like to, I'll call after that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Councilors and staff. Man,
what an amazing country we live in.
Name and city of residence.
Sorry, Brandon Smith, Salem, Oregon.
Thank you.
Former resident, long time of Keizer. Amazing country we live in. That we can all come together and talk and hear each other's side of the story. Heard a lot of things tonight. Not a lot of it true, but that's okay. They're entitled to say what they want. I sit here and listen to every one of them. Didn't interrupt, didn't clap, didn't boo. That's okay. I did a quick little Google search there. I couldn't find a single news story detailing any sort of violence at a Reawaken America event. Some have happened already. I'm not sure where all the violence is that they're expecting to happen in Keizer. I watch Trump rallies online, never been to one myself. Not a lot of violence at those either. I am a conservative Republican. Most of you know me and have for a long time. These folks this is all ideological for an awful lot of them. They just simply disagree with political choices, or votes that have happened in this country, and that's fine. And they can call me a white supremacist and a racist and gun nut and anything else they want. They're entitled to, and that's great. And I'm not going to return the favor for them. I definitely have my own opinions, but isn't it great that we can all come in here and share what we think, and thank God that we have a contract with the baseball landowners, the Walkers, that they can hold an event, and that you know that that's not going to change because people come in here and tell lies about the things that happen at these events and the people that attend these events. And I almost said a naughty word when there was a link drawn between the truck protest and the shootings on Friday afternoon. It just cracks me up. I know I'm not allowed to address the chief, but I'll bet the chief probably knows more about that than I do. That's all. What a great country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? Yes, if you want to come up and give your name and your city of residence for the record, please.
My name is Alexis Smith. I am a Keizer resident. And I felt like I didn't need to be here tonight. I knew what was coming and that it was unnecessary. But I've watched this meeting. I've watched the word racist thrown out repeatedly without merit, which has been the theme of the council meetings here for far too long. You guys have done a phenomenal job addressing racism in this town. Some may even say to a fault, because this council was taken off its course for months and months and months and months and months. In terms of the event, it's simple. It's protected. That's it. There's freedom of religion still in this country. There's freedom of speech. That same freedom of speech that's let people come up here for the last hour spewing facts or spewing garbage portrayed as facts. I have no interest in attending the event. They are a lot more right-leaning than I am. But I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here silent while people suggest our city should attack the First Amendment. And that's what they're asking for. It's that simple. It's allowed. If they don't feel safe, they need to go somewhere. When Antifa wants to protest downtown, guess what? Me and my kids don't go downtown. This city has spent enough time on this at this point. If they want to come up with something more you guys can do and come here in a meaningful way and tell you what they need from you, that's different. But just bombarding every meeting, turning every single thing they disagree with into racism because it's the quickest way to get what they want. We're done with it. I'm done with it. You have an awful lot of people who won't show up to these meetings and say that they're done with it because then they're going to be labeled racist. Then people are going to try to get them fired from their jobs. Guess what? Stay-at-home mom, come for my job. Please, I need a break.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address council this evening under public testimony? Sir? Your name and your city of residence for the record, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Harrison. I'm a citizen of Keizer. I just wanted to address too, I've been to a number of other rallies, and I'm a conservative. I was a straight line Democrat for years. I've been to the rallies in Salem. They were not started by the Trump people. They were started by Antifa and the BLM. Portland was almost destroyed by BLM and Antifa. There weren't conservatives that were burning that city down, that were fighting the police, that were pointing tasers, green tasers at police, blinding them. To hear some of this, I'll just call it crap, it's an emotional hot point. I get that. I'm going to this. I've lived here in Keizer for 20 years. I'm a veteran. I don't have any animosity or I really want to swear right now, sorry. So I would just say again that from everything that I've watched and seen at these conservative rallies across the nation, the only people that disturb them are the Antifa and the BLM people. They're the ones that get everybody fired up. They're the ones that damage property. They're the ones that injure people. They're the ones who killed that young man in Portland, killed him in cold blood in Portland. And I'll even talk about Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse was attacked and hit with a skateboard. And then he was trying to protect property, and then he had to protect his own life. And he was acquitted. So with that said, I think we're going to have a great time. And I'm really glad. I was originally going to drive to Redmond, and this is in my backyard, and I love it. And I thank you. And thank you for all what you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? Come on down and just your name and your city of residence for the record.
Hi, can y'all hear me? My name is Alex Cruz, and I'm a resident here in Keizer. I just kind of want to speak on a couple important things, especially after hearing some people speak after the other group. I want to say, it's pretty disgusting how a person come and sit up here and tell people, if you don't feel safe, you can just go somewhere else. And those people they're talking to are people who are native to this land. They already got their land ripped away from them from colonizers. And to say that, comfortably say, you can just go somewhere else is a huge, disgusting disgrace to say ever. It's pretty outrageous to hear, to have folks even come here and think that just going somewhere else during these events would make you feel safer. When we see all around that no one is safe, especially a person of color in Salem, Keizer, Portland, anywhere. It's pretty, as a person of color, it's pretty scary to live and go to places here in Keizer and Salem when those events happen. That can't stop myself from going downtown. I can't stop myself from going to Keizer when there's right-wing people protesting at the Capitol. I have places to be and have places to go as a student. And to sit here and say, oh, you can just go somewhere else or just don't come to a certain place, that's ridiculous. That's seriously, it's pretty, and it's funny to think that you're like over here sitting and thinking that, oh, that's not how they are, or that's not how they are. But we've seen these protests happen in downtown Salem, these protests happening here in Keizer, and we see how you all are like. You know, especially hurting BIPOC youth, whoever, or even BIPOC communities who walk by and harass them, to block a whole entire entrance to drive through. You know, it's scary to even go and drive through those areas when you have to drive through those, and to see the right wing on each side with their flags and just standing there and harassing us. It's pretty scary to drive through there, you know, and having, you know, a parent of color here in the same Keizer I don't feel safe either. And even with Salem Keizer police as well, you know, we've seen how they react with BIPOC and Black and Indigenous and people of color. We've seen many of them die because of being a person of color. There's no time to even think about it twice if we should have the right to feel safe, especially in the same Keizer area. And I just want to remember you're on stolen land, and to remember that nothing like that should even happen. You shouldn't even think twice about, you know, taking down events that are over here celebrating the death of children and Indigenous people. There's no time to even think twice. It's an automatic no. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There will be order. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening before we conclude our public testimony? Come on down. And just your name and your city of residence, and we will have quiet so we can pay attention to the speaker, please.
My name is Rob Witters. I'm a citizen of Keizer. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not a public speaker. I kind of get a phobia about this stuff, but
well, thank you for trying.
I didn't plan on speaking tonight. I didn't even know this was on the agenda. I'm here for a different reason. But I will say that I'm appalled that this could be happening here in Keizer. I hear the names of Mike Lindell coming, and this is a guy who spreads lies in order to make money. We have Michael Flynn, I heard, who confessed to the FBI of committing crimes. We have Roger Stone, who was convicted of crimes. These people peddle hate. They do it for money. They do it for power. And I'm really saddened to hear that it's going to be happening here in Keizer. Roger Stone is on video and audio as being an architect of the January 6th insurrection. And I can't believe that he would be welcomed into the city. And I don't know what the zoning is around the Volcano Stadium, but I have to, whether it's private property or not, I would have to assume that there had to have been permits taken out in order to do something like this. And if that's the case, it is in your power to reject that permit. There is precedent for doing this. It has happened in schools and other cities and in other private places, and I would implore you that if you have the power to do so, to take a stand and to say that this type of hate is not welcome in Keizer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Last call. All right. What I'd like to do at this point, there's been a couple of questions that have been raised, but I would like to just point out to a couple of things for folks. One is that the Oregon Constitution is extremely clear on freedom of expression. However, we are also very clear in this community that we will protect all people, and our police are very responsive when called, and it's not based on gender, race, any sort of other thing than you are a human and you are a resident in this community. Chief, our force, there's been some questions asked about responding to calls for service. Just in general, people call, they're concerned, they're feeling unsafe, and need some reassurance that Keizer police are responsive.
Are you asking generally, or I think you said generally, you don't mean just in regard to this?
Generally and in particular.
Yeah, I mean, we respond to every call for service. One of the few agencies that does, you call us, we're gonna talk to a cop, probably have one show up. We don't decide who's calling, whether or not we're gonna show up or not. You call, we show up. That's generally speaking. And as far as this event goes, what happens inside the fence, it's up to them and their security. What happens outside the fence, we'll be responding to, and we anticipate it'll be a peaceful event, both inside and outside the fence. And we're not especially excited or animated about it. We'll see.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you. There is no agenda item relative to this item, so just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. We will proceed with our agenda this evening, and we'll go on to our public hearing. But I want to thank everybody for coming this evening and expressing their point of view. And what I'd like to do, though, very briefly, okay?
Oh, no, what?
We were going to go on to our public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I just wanted to thank everybody for expressing your views on both sides there. I have opinion on it, and I think we, as leaders, should express our opinions, and I'll start first. I'm not happy about it. I know they have a right to do that because of contract. We all understand that, but I personally am telling you that how I feel, and I don't support this. I know it doesn't reflect to me the community that we live in, and with all this talk about inclusion and forming a new, people will ask me, how can I tie those two together? Well, did we ask BIPOC people how they felt? I know everybody gets upset when I keep talking about this, but it's our lives, and I think it was expressed pretty well, and I don't think it was all garbage. I think it wasn't always accurate in some things, and I don't agree with everything, but I do agree with the sentiment that it's not good for our community. I will say that, like I said, they have every right to do it, and like I said, but me, myself, I'm not happy that's in my backyard. I've been lived here for 44 years. I never thought we'd have something like that. And I think a lot of folks don't understand why folks fear them being even my cousins that live in town, they're a little upset, and they can't just go somewhere like everybody says. It sounds like something they've always told us, go somewhere else, go somewhere, you can't do this, kid. And I think that I just want it known that, because I've heard people say, why don't you do something about road? Why don't you say, well, there's so much I can do, and believe me, I have done as much as I could, and like I say, they have a right to do there, and I have a right to disagree with it. So that's where I stand. Next.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you, and at this point, unless there's anybody else who would like to comment, we are going to go on to our public hearing. Okay, Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, my daughter is Kalapuya, so I appreciate where you're coming from. My mother is also the historian for the Shemao Indian School, so for the last 20 years, I'm very, very familiar with this land and how it came about. So I appreciate the willingness of the youth in our community to come forward and to stand up for what they believe in. And we don't always get what we want, and we may not always agree. And it's one of those things where, unfortunately, as Councilor Herrera addressed, there's a lot of things here to unpack, and I hope that I'm encouraging you to continue to have the conversations, and hopefully we can start to build some bridges of communication instead of division, because I, for one, am tired of the division, but I definitely think the education needs to be there. I think the information regarding Shemawa and the history of this land does need to be brought forth. So I look forward to finding ways to do that.
Yep, and your mom is an expert in this area for sure. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We will then go to the public hearing that we have this on schedule this evening. I'm going to open the public hearing for the Keizer Mart liquor license application, change of ownership. Somebody tells me this goes to Mr. Johnson.
No, he has somehow managed to transfer that responsibility back to me.
Oh, lucky you. All right.
Actually, I think typically this goes to the city recorder. These applications go to the city recorder, who has let the city manager sort of stand in. This is simply a change of ownership, a proposed change of ownership at the Keizer Mart. It has been reviewed by the police department, and we have received no comments. The police department found no reason to deny the change. We've received no comments from the public on the subject, and it's the staff recommendation to go ahead and grant or to recommend the liquor license approval to the OLCC.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? Is there anyone anyone here who would like to address the council on this matter? Do we have anybody signed up?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we don't, but I know she's here. But she's here to answer questions, she said.
Okay.
Tracy is her name, but I don't remember
Okay.
her last name.
Okay. Tracy, yes, come on up. I don't have your last name, so if you could introduce yourself and tell us about what's happening with Keizer Mart, and it's your chance to share with us about your business.
Okay, my name is Tracy Bratcher, and I'm also a Keizer resident and the new owner of the Keizer Mart. I've been doing convenience stores for 20 years for United Pacific and everybody who's owned them before, so I hope to just be the neighborhood, store here. That's what I hope to do. And I'm not a public speaker either, so forgive me. But,
You're doing good.
We just hope to have a little of everything for people walking by, people in the neighborhood. I used to live in the apartments behind it years ago. So it's kind of a come back to the beginning for me. This is where I started.
Yeah, there
Yes,
you go.
Grand Circle, exactly.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best with your business as you take over the ownership of the Keizer Mart.
Yes, we officially opened 5 days ago. Haven't been selling alcohol, of course. But we at least opened so we can open the doors and get people used to us being open again. It was closed for so long, so. Anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Oh, Councilor Kohler has one question. Yes.
Thank you for coming tonight. What are your hours?
Oh, well, we're kind of starting broad. We're opening at 6 a.m. and I've been staying till about 10 p.m. on weekdays, midnight on the weekends, trying to allow people who are getting off work at the bar to come across and, get something to drink or snacks or something. So we may lower those eventually once we find the nick of when everybody wants to come in, but we're just trying to be there for whoever wants us right now. So.
Perfect. Welcome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Okay, anybody else? All right, yeah, I did. Right at the beginning. Okay, any other information the council needs before I close public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council recommend approval of the application for the Keizer Mart under the guidelines as established by ORS 4071.178 and the ordinance of the City of Keizer. This recommendation shall then be forwarded to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for final approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council approve the recommendation of the application for the Keizer Mart and for the, maybe I should go back to the beginning of that line. Let's try that again. It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council approve the application for the Keizer Mart under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and forward this recommendation to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for final approval. I need some water. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that is Councilor Reed. That takes us now to administrative action, and we're going to start off with the West Keizer Neighbors Association Annual Report. And I'm delighted to see folks here this evening for the West Keizer neighborhood. Welcome, Rhonda.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. Is this on? Okay.
I just got to pull a little close with that.
Okay.
Got it. There you go.
My name's Rhonda Rich. I'm Vice President of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association, giving the annual report tonight. I don't know, Carol Dorfler would love to do this, but you'll get me to do it tonight. And I also understand there's a couple other neighborhood associations that are coming forward, so that's pretty exciting. So I'm going to kind of summarize what you guys got in your packets, so kind of the public knows what we've been doing too. The West Keizer Neighborhood Association is a neighborhood association recognized by the city of Keizer that serves over 3,000 households in West Keizer. Its boundaries extend north to Chamawa Road, east to River Road, south to the Keizer limits, and west to the Willamette River. The association is led by 7 board members who serve the West Keizer residents by abiding by its mission statement. And we're basically the Cummings Elementary School area. Our general meetings are held on the second Thursday of each month, except for June, July, August, and December. Our meetings are attended by 20 to 25 people, which is pretty exciting. It's not just the cookies, I think. We meet at Keizer City Hall, and thanks to Christian Bouvier and Tracy Davis for kind of coordinating that with us. This last year, we had only 5 in-person meetings. We suspended January, February, March due to COVID. Board meetings are held the first Thursday of the months of our general meetings, and we meet at various board members' homes. But the meetings are always open to all the members. We're publicized by Carolyn Holman, who's here. She's our secretary, and Carol Phipps, who's on the board through email. We have approximately 200 people on our email list. Our city website, your city website, Chamber of Commerce calendar, Facebook, and the website www.westkeizerna.org. Our website manager is Barbara Smith-Henke, and all meeting minutes and general information can be found on the website. Informational flyers are provided at West Keizer Parks and Cummings School. I have some with me tonight. If some of you, I know most of you have seen this, but if I'll give them to Debbie to pass out later if you want to see one. The yard signs are posted the weekend before our meetings, thanks to Art Maurer and Dennis Phipps. The complete 2021 annual report can be found through a link on the city's website and on the West Keizer, the WICNA website. So I'm going to give you a little synopsis of that report. The elections were held in April 2021 due to meeting cancellations due to COVID. So Kathy Lincoln served as board member through 2020 until elections in April. At that time, Carol Dorfler was reelected president, Carol Phipps was vice president, Carolyn Holman was secretary, and directors myself, Art Maurer, Rob Witters, who's here tonight with us too, and Gary Blake. And I'd like to publicly recognize and thank the following people who have given of their time to come and share information at the general meetings this last year. Mayor Clark, who's always up to giving us the state of the city, and she's a frequent attendee too. And we'd love to have you there. Councilor Duran and Councilor Smith, the West Keizer Neighborhood Association liaisons to the city council, and they attend every meeting, kind of alternate and share their ideas and what you are doing, and they're always great to bounce things off of. Stephen Wolf, who's with the Traffic Safety Bikeways Pedestrian Committee, came in April to talk about the TSP transportation study plan, I think it is, sidewalk connectivity, and Dearborn and Cummings were a focus for the West Keizer neighborhood at that meeting. Shane Witham, the planning director for Keizer, came and spoke about the UGB and the long-range planning for transportation and land supply. Colm Willis, the Marion County Commissioner, and Matt Lawyer, who's on the Parks Board, came and spoke with us about the Keizer Rapids Park soccer fields to go in the future. And Matt Lawyers came to one of our meetings just to talk about the Parks Master Plan. Wes Hare came to one of our meetings. City Manager, Andrew Conser, Cummings Elementary Principal. Tom Rolfing, who's the Marion County Assessor, told us how our property taxes come about. And Eric Bandonas comes quarterly. He's probation parole deputy of Marion County Sheriff's Department. He also shares a lot what's happening in the police department. And so highlights of the year, our first newsletter came out in August, compiled by Carol Phipps, Carolyn, and Rob Witters. The second issue was in December, and I think Carolyn came to your last city council meeting and gave you all a copy of our March newsletter. And they put a lot of work into it, and it's really informational. It's also on our website. We do the Coming School Beautification, which is led by Carol Phipps. We plant flowers, try to keep it nice under the reader board, attractive for the school. And she does flower pots around the school entrances. This year, we have a liaison to the Keizer Library Board, and Chris Adams is our liaison. And she has board meetings the same night as we have our meetings, so she's usually late, but she comes in and she's really good about sharing with us what's happening with the library. We held our February board meeting over at the library. We had a tour, and I'd have to tell you, that place is a little gem. We were really excited to see it, and there's great people working on that. Hope it does get a chance to move forward. Chris Adams is also managing our little library for Carol Dorfler at the corner of Shoreline and Rafael, and that is very well used. So we didn't do the monster cookie ride, but her Sangster did in August, and Carol Dorfler and Carolyn Holman assisted directing and bikers through our neighborhood, because it started at Keizer Rapids Park and went through West Keizer. So we get out and try to help when we can. The master plan for parks, all board members were involved with MIG meetings, and Bat Lawyer and Matthew Pottet from the Parks Board, particularly with keeping Palmacia Park in the master plan as a natural area for residents to enjoy viewing wildlife in the Willamette River. Volunteer of the Quarter last March was a year ago, Dennis Phipps, and he is great. He goes every week to Bimart and Copper Creek Mercantile and takes food to the Keizer Community Food Bank. Last year, we collected 4,621 pounds of food, $1,111 in cash, and 80 pounds of dog food. So this last, I believe it was spring, we started talking about a traffic blitz, because Carol Dorfler was getting on Nextdoor, and also members of the community voicing concerns about speeding on our streets and also noisy vehicles. So we kicked that off this January and continued discussion in February with Chief Tig there, attending our meetings along with Jamie Davis and Mike DeBlasi, the chair and vice chair of the Traffic Safety Bikeways Pedestrian Committee. And discussions are continuing with requests for a stop sign at Dearborn and Shoreline and a speed table on Cummings Lane. So the 2022 board was elected in January. Again, Carol Dorfler was elected president, and I'm vice president. Secretary is Carolyn Holman. Carol Phipps, Art Maurer, Rob Witters, and Gary Blake are on the board. So the WICNA will continue this year with the following goals. We try to have timely topics that are of interest to West Keizer residents and solicit input from members about issues that affect them. We work to improve the quality of life for the residents of West Keizer by working with city council, city staff, and city advisory groups, committees, and commissions. We are supportive of our local pools and parks, River Road businesses, and our neighborhood school, Cummings Elementary. Our meetings and activities are aimed at encouraging connections among neighbors in the community. We want to thank the City Council for your support from the general fund budget and use of the Civic Center meeting room. And we now request that you extend recognition for the West Keizer Neighborhood Association for the year 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. Appreciate you and the entire board for the hard work you put in to plan programming that's meaningful for the community. So thank you so much for that. Are there any questions on Rhonda's report or the report we received in the packet? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like, if you would please, to send our best wishes to Carol. We miss seeing her here.
Okay, I will.
Please do.
We all will, and yeah, hope she's watching.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
thank you.
I walk by her house frequently. I just live a few blocks away, so been
Like I
thinking of
said,
her.
she'd love to be here talking to
Yes.
you, but, but I do too, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, Council President Smith, put a motion on the table.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council accept the report of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association and extend recognition to them for an additional year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council accept the report from the West Keizer Neighborhood Association and extend recognition for an additional year. Any further comment or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that is Councilor Reed. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you for your good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That takes us now to item 8B. Everything's in the packet. Yes, we're good to go. To adopt the Parks and Recreation Master Plan dated December 2021. Who's doing it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
City Manager.
Actually, this one belongs exclusively to the city attorney.
Wes has been pointing that out for the last 2 weeks. Yes, we do have the actual ordinance attached, and as I pointed out in the staff report, we provided a provision for minor changes without a formal amendment of the master plan. For example, changing a park amenity slightly or moving it slightly could be accomplished without a formal amendment. So we put that in the ordinance. We've had a lot of resolutions over the years with Keizer Rapids Park. And so as part of a housekeeping measure, we've also prepared a resolution repealing those resolutions. So we have one plan. So to make that clear, so the recommendation is if there's no questions, to adopt the ordinance. And after adopting that, adopt the resolution which repeals those individual master plans. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Were there any final questions on the Keizer Parks Master Plan? Let's do this. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance adopting the Parks and Recreation Master Plan dated December 2021, amending ordinance number 87-077, repealing ordinances 2008-570, 2014-712, 2016-745, and 2016-749.
Hallelujah, I second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance 2022, adopting the Parks and Recreation Master Plan dated December 2021, amending ordinance number 87-077, repealing ordinances 2008-570, 2014-712, 2016-745, and 2016-749. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. If I want your names.
I was like, nobody dared.
Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. All right, now we need the resolution to go with it. Pardon?
Okay.
With one absent, Councilor Reed. Thank you. Resolution, Council President Smith,
Is it just this one I have?
is to repeal this, all the old stuff.
Okay, wait a minute. What page are you on now?
And so it's 8B, the resolution. Here.
Oh, I see it.
Yep.
Yeah, I was off for a month. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. I move the Keizer City Council adopt resolution 2022 repealing R 2001-1272, R 2002-1349, R 2006-1729, R 2009-1949, R 2014-2514, and R 2016.
No, 2517.
Oh, 2517, my correction, and R 2016-2648, Park Master Plans.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, repealing R 2001-1272, R 2002-1349, R 2006-1729, R 2009-1949, R 2014-2517, and R 2016-2648 Park Master Plans. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent, Councilor Reed. We got it done. We have a Parks Master Plan.
New rule after.
All right.
After 3, can we go ahead and start doing it, not wait till we have like 5? Yeah, just for simplicity.
Well, we kept on, but I like the change that the simple things within the park boundary, that will eliminate a number of these where we had to move stuff around and actually pass new resolutions to deal with that or amend the plan. So that was a great efficiency item. Okay, let's go on to item 8C, the mosaic tile art project at the splash pad. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I volunteered to give a very brief staff report on this. I don't think anybody's ever questioned the value of this project or whether or not it should go forward. You as a city council did consider whether or not you wanted to give permission to the Arts Commission to go ahead and seek funding for this project, but you had not approved the actual funding mechanism. And during the course of the Parks Commission considering a grant, there were some questions raised about whether or not this was appropriate, the match and so forth. And so this sort of goes back to a discussion we had not too long ago about how things get on the agenda. My view is that given that some questions had been raised, that the appropriate way to answer them was to bring it to the city council. One could make an argument that that wasn't completely necessary because the Parks Commission does have the ability to fund grants. They have an amount that's included in the budget every year. But it's hard to quarrel when the city council has, in open session, considered the entire project, considered the funding of the project, and so it seemed appropriate for me to, I think the technical term is sprinkle holy water on it. So it is my recommendation that you go ahead and proceed with approval of this project.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report regarding the funding for this mosaic project? And I want to thank Mr. Lawyer for bringing this to our attention so we could make sure that we are also cross-checking each other's work and understand the decisions that we are making. So I really appreciate that very much. And also appreciate the work of both the Parks Board and the Public Arts Commission in bringing this project to fruition. All right, anything else? Council President Smith.
And Shannon, you want this by minute motion, correct?
Yes, and if I may, Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson.
Ms. Lori Christopher is here, she's not here now. If the council wants to go forward and fund this, that'd be great. Her way of funding it with the reimbursement really isn't necessary or appropriate. It's not a reimbursement project. Really, as Mr. Harris said, the only question is do you want to do it, and if so, how to fund it? So my suggestion would be that you direct staff to come back with a resolution indicating the funding. Now, I guess I would like you to make a decision point that only maybe Mr. Wood and I care about, but do you want to use that park money, and maybe Mr. Harris can comment on it, money not spent in a budget is not really lost. It's kind of a common misperception. But I guess the question would be, and maybe someone can help me out on it, does it matter if you're going to use the park's leftover money or you want to take it from somewhere else?
So I would put it to council, if we had additional proposals come up between now and the end of the year for a parks matching grant, we could come back and say, we really need to get this done and have that conversation. At this point, do we have any other grants that have been applied for with the parks matching grant process? Anybody?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Okay. So we don't have any at this time, but we do have the opportunity, if a grant opportunity comes up, to have that conversation. And the Parks Board could make a recommendation saying, can we find the funds to do a matching grant under our program? So that option is available to us, am I correct?
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So
Madam Mayor?
at this point, then it's up to the council? Yes. Mr. Lawyer?
If I may. The Parks Grant Program requires that projects be done by the end of June, so they match the fiscal year. It's
Okay.
the end of March. Somebody comes to the Parks Board with a grant now, time is short. I don't know that there will be time to come back to council to get authorization for that grant so they can move ahead and still get it completed by the end of the fiscal year. I just want to point that out. There's going to be a delay at the Parks Board level if they have to come back to council for authorization for the grant funding.
Right, and that would be pretty typical for this time of year?
No, typically this time of year, the Parks Board would grant the approval and they'd move ahead.
That's
There's
true.
not the delay of having to come back to council.
Okay,
Okay, so I just want to point that out so that there's no confusion should another grant application come in next month.
thank
I
you.
hope I didn't make that too confusing. Okay.
I think we got it. Mr. Johnson?
I guess I don't know anything else to add, except that money is kind of fungible. So I think what Bill's getting at is it makes sense to just go ahead and indicate if it looks like it, the council wants to go that direction, then you want to move forward with it. So the motion, we direct staff to come back with a resolution indicating the funding for the project, and we'll come back next meeting with that.
Okay. Counselor Starr?
I just have a couple clarifications, and I know I'm on my 91st day today, but so I'm still going to use the newbie card. Is that going to delay the start of the project, having to come back for another resolution? Because to Mr. Lawyer's point, I'm starting to get a little antsy about time.
Well, it's going to delay it 2 weeks, I guess, but right now, I'm not sure they really have valid authority anyway. So, I mean, if you want to, the difficulty is you do have a resolution that says kind of the opposite of what you're doing. And that's okay, you guys can change your mind, but the resolution that's currently in place said, we approve the project itself, but there no funding other than, and it was pretty clear, outside grants. So, and that's fine, but if you want to go ahead and direct us to take action with regard to the contract, we can. But I will need to change that resolution. So, I mean, you could add that to the motion to move forward without delay. I think this is a little bit of an artificial rush, if you know what I'm getting at. The reason for that is this was supposedly found money and it has to be spent by June. It doesn't have to be spent by June. I mean, it just can fall into the next year, these amounts, I would assume. Mr. Wood.
I guess we have several issues that we may need to think about. I am concerned about the artist, the ability to get raw materials in time to get this project done. I do think a 2-week delay might hinder the process, although I do agree with Mr. Johnson. If this did roll into the next year, we would probably be able to find some funding there as well. So I don't necessarily want to I don't want to rush something and make a mistake. So I guess my thoughts are, if you go with the current resolution and take it out of the Parks Fund, we should probably move that direction sooner rather than later. However, if you're willing to consider some other alternative funding sources, we do have a little bit of time that we could work with.
A question, Mr. Wood, do we have money in the Parks contingency that could cover this?
We do have money in contingency that we could use. I'm trying to think in my mind if it's within the Parks area or within the general fund itself.
That way we are not getting into the grant program itself, but we are saying that this is an important project and should be funded, and leave it as a contingency, take it from the contingency. Mr. Lawyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just was actually finalizing budget preparation in the parks budget this afternoon.
Oh, well, very timely.
And there is ending fund balance in the Parks Operation Fund at the end, projected at the end of this fiscal year. And the Parks Fund could absorb that $9,500 if the council so chooses. And it could come out of the grant fund line, for instance. And if another grant comes through, we could just increase the grant fund line item or overspend the grant fund line item and balance it with something else in the fund,
Okay,
if the council chooses to do that.
all right. Mr. Wood?
I might also add another wrinkle is the splash pad has to be closed while they're doing this artwork. And summer months, hot months are starting to come our direction, so.
True that. Consensus of council, Mr. Johnson, if we chose to go forward tonight with with directing staff to go ahead with the funding this project. That is a direction we could go rather than wait for a formal resolution in 2 weeks. Okay. With that, I see Council President Smith furiously scribbling. You ready?
I think so. I was like, I just asked if it was a minute motion, 5 minutes later. No.
Okay, it's a 5-minute motion.
Goodness gracious.
Okay.
I move the Keizer City Council move forward with the funding of the project.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council directs staff to move forward with funding this project, the mosaic. And this is, for point of clarification, would be that this would be funded through the parks budget and leave it to the discretion of Mr. Wood and Mr. Lawyer to see which line item this needs to come out of. Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's just a clarifying, because we didn't put that in the that was not put in the motion. Okay? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent, Councilor Reed. Let's make beautiful art. Item 8D is the fee waiver request for a soggy day in the park at Keizer Rapids Park. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe our Public Works Director is prepared to speak to this issue.
Thank you, Wes. Madam Mayor, Council. I wanted to say the third annual, but since it got canceled due to COVID, I just condensed it. I believe this is actually the third happening of this event. I know they got through the second annual and then got held up. This is an event put on by the Keizer Watershed Council for Saturday, April 23rd. The event's designed to encourage families from the community to get out of the indoors, get into the outdoors, not out to the indoors, into the outdoors, have fun, learn something about the Willamette River through boat rides on the river, and learn about invasive species through nature hikes in the natural area of the park. Other activities planned include backhoe demonstrations, catered food, and bouncy houses for kids to play in. This matters before the council to consider whether it is appropriate to waive or reduce fees for this event. Total fees are $327 for the event, broken down by a $63 application fee, first 2 hours of use fee of $105, and then an additional 3 hours of use at $159. It's appropriate for council to consider the matter of the fees and make a minute motion to deny the waiver request, waive some of the fees, or waive all of the fees for the April 23rd, 2022 Soggy Day in the Park event at Keizer Rapids Park. Staff recommends the council should consider the matter, make a minute motion to formalize its intent with regard to the fees. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Minute motion or 5-minute motion?
3.5 minute motion.
Okay, 3.5, negotiating. All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report or the request from Soggy Day at the Park? Which I don't think has been soggy yet, but knock on wood. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you know what we've done in the past on fee waivers for this particular event?
I believe all the fees have been waived for this event.
Yeah.
Both times it's been held.
And Robert has brought the backhoe out also.
Public Works staff has provided a backhoe and staffing to help the kids operate said machine.
It's been a great event. I'm sad that I'll be missing it this year, but it's,
Yeah.
as a liaison for the Clyde Creek Watershed Council, I know this is a very exciting thing that we try to do every year. It's kind of a thank you for all the people that have come and helped with all the other events that we have. And it's just been a lot of fun.
I want to piggyback on that because a lot of volunteer hours have been made possible through the Clyde Creek Watershed Council and the partnerships in the community for improving our local environment. So this is a small way of saying thank you. And also the kids with the backhoe and everything, not only are we recruiting for future employees at Public Works, because hey, those big toys are fun, another version of big toy. But I really appreciate another contribution on the part of the city of Keizer with Robert Johnson and his time out there to be an ambassador for our city staff. And let people thank him for the work that everybody does to make our parks a very warm and inviting place. So Ron, thank you for that. Anything else on Soggy Day at the Park? Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Keizer City Council make a minute motion, or as a minute motion, approve the waiver of all fees for the April 23rd, 2022 Soggy Day in the Park event at the Keizer Rapids Park.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council waive all fees for the April 23rd, 2022 Soggy Day at the Park event at Keizer Rapids Park. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent, as Councilor Reed. And that takes us then to the consent calendar. Council President Smith, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are 4 items. Item 9A, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign the production studio administration agreement. Item B is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into the City of Keizer Street and right-of-way landscape maintenance services and vegetated stormwater facility maintenance services contract with Brightview Landscape Services, Inc. Item C is the approval of the February 22nd, 2022 regular session minutes. And item D is approval of the March 7th, 2022 regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls?
I do.
Yes, I'm going to pull A.
Item C and D.
Okay. So we'll start off with B.
I move the Keizer City Council approve consent calendar item 9B.
Second.
Consent calendar item 9B, as in boy, has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent. Okay, 9A, I'm only pulling this I want to kind of bring it out of the consent calendar and kind of tie a bow on it. This was the result of a tremendous amount of work on the part of our staff following up on the work session we had on this issue regarding continuing to be able to have television production services. Being able to broadcast our city council meetings and other meetings to the public to be as inclusive as possible has been so important for so many years before I got on council. And to find a way forward with this proposal, I just want to say a big thank you. And I'm really excited for Philip Wade, who is probably back there right now on the controls, to be able to have that contract is going to be a great plus for our community. Did have one question, and part of this, is this one of the strategies to help preserve as much old money as possible for operations? So all of the new money is just, as it can only be used for equipment, that's the way it happens. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, that is correct. We are trying to save as much of the old money as possible, and we'll be using the new money for equipment and repairs first before we dip into the other stuff. We currently do have enough ending fund balance to last us about 2 to 3 years. So we do have some time to think about some different options as well. And I would second what you said about the folks in the back. They do excellent work. I think it was brought up at our work session that we have artists that work for us back there. They're not just production studio people.
I would absolutely agree. They do a fantastic job. And they also fix my boo-boo when I forget to do my coffee with Kathy, and I put it on Facebook instead of the cloud. So he's always able to grab that over. My other question has to do with the equipment upgrade. You partly answered it. So we will this be in partnership then, or go out for bid and work with John Straw, who designed a lot of these systems?
That is correct. He'll continue to be part of the team as well.
Okay. Fabulous. And one more question on the ownership or management of KeizerTV.com. Does that belong to us?
KeizerTV.com does not belong to us. That is trademarked by K23 folks. So we are going to be working through the logistics of getting a website up and running. We will reach out and get some feedback from them as well. So there will be a little bit of change going forward. If you keep track of the city of Wilsonville, we're probably going to move the direction they're going and host a lot of the TV information on our own website. So.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. All right, any questions? on that. All right, thank you very much, Council President Smith.
I move the Keizer City Council approve consent calendar item 9A.
Second.
Consent calendar item 9A has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Councilor Reed. Council President Smith, C and D.
I move, sorry, I pulled those because I wasn't here.
Okay, anyone to abstain?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, go ahead and move them.
Okay, I move that the Keizer City Council approve consent calendar items C and D.
Second.
Consent calendar items C and D have been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Reed, and one abstention, that's Smith. That takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Hare, any new other business items for this evening that you're aware of?
Not from me.
All right. Okay, staff updates. Mr. Wood?
I have nothing additional tonight, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lockhart? Chief? Mr. Lawyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple things. Robert Johnson and I met with representatives from the Chamber of Commerce last week, talked about Keizer Fest at Keizer Rapids Park. The folks from the Chamber, are going to be doing some preparatory work out there fairly soon to work on the area where they want to set the big tent up primarily. After discussion, what they're going to do is bring in a big roller. That's their plan. Try to flatten that ground out as much as they can while it's still wet. And then they'll be doing some weed control, some things like that. Talking through their options, determine the roller is probably the best bet because they don't really want to have the delay to get the required permits to work the ground, to make it smooth, to seed it back when there's already grass growing there. So we're pretty confident that this will achieve what they're after, especially if they can get on it fairly soon while the ground's still pretty moist. The other thing I wanted to mention is that our annual water main flushing program, staff starts that next. We call it Monday. It's actually Sunday night they come to work. Most of the hours they work will be officially on Monday because it's after midnight. That'll go on for about 6 weeks. So if people notice low water pressure during the middle of the night, that's typically why. Welcome to call and we'll respond if we need to. But that's to flush to get all the minerals, primarily manganese and iron that settles in the main over the wintertime out of the mains for the high flows in the spring and summer. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. And appreciate that heads up. Councilor Herrera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As far as rolling, is Clint involved in the rolling
No.
for the ground?
Not that I'm aware of.
He's an expert at that.
Not that I'm aware of. They contacted a gentleman, Mr. Lorenz.
Oh, yeah.
Does a lot of big dirt work, and I'm told
Good
has
hands,
a
yeah.
big roller.
And last, if I may, what's the schedule for the trees in my neighborhood?
They will be planted by R&R Tree Service with their tree spade, because they're big trees, in the next week or two, I believe is the schedule. We have the trees, we're just waiting, and we have it up, we're on R&R schedule, and those will be the last trees, I believe, to plant in the parks.
So that's like next week?
This week.
I have neighbors that ask me all the time. We love that park.
In the next, either this week or next week. I'm not positive of the schedule. I don't know
Thank you
what
very
day,
much.
but I'm
That's
pretty
good
darn
enough.
sure it's either this week or next week.
And just so you know, our neighborhood, we have little projects there. We don't, we do a lot of little things there, so, and they care. So, thank you very much, Bill.
You bet.
All right, thank you. A great update, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council member reports. Councilor Herrera, can we start with you this evening, please?
Sure, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We had Keizer United today, and it was well attended. I think it was like 30 people. And that was very interesting. I shout out to Betty Hart for getting Volunteer of the Year, or Volunteer of the Week, I should say, by the Keizer Times. Yes, 2 weeks ago, our youth counselor and I, we organized this rally for in support of the Ukrainian people. My neighbor is Ukrainian, and in fact, he left last week to Ukraine. He wants to be part of the fight, the efforts, and we wish him well. But anyway, it was very interesting because we were on Chemawa and River Road for the rally, and somehow I got into the Ukrainian community. They found it on social media, and we actually had 9 Ukrainian families show up with flags and everything, and it was great. And they asked me if we could stay with it, Miranda and I, and pray with them afterwards, and it was really special. It was like, wow, very good. Anyway, that was the highlight of my last week. We have LAC, and again, we have our event coming up in June. And if anybody's interested in helping us out, contact us. Pastor Dominguez or myself, or any of the Glorious family. I also had a Color Caucus meeting, which was quite interesting. We have come a long ways, and we're doing a lot of great network, and we're looking forward to Hermiston in April 20th. Or is anybody attending besides me?
I can.
Anyway, so that's upcoming. It'll be our first time that we're in person, and boy, it's long overdue. Also, I had Naleo a round table, and they've been so valuable for certain for many, and I'm sharing some of the work that we've done with other communities around the country, actually, in terms of how LAC started and how we did that, and so it's been very interesting, and I enjoy that work. So that's pretty much all I had. I want to thank Ron Burson for showing up, and all the folks again for showing up. Regardless of how you feel, I think it's always good to express yourself, and I know we all care about our community, and I worry that we, folks say we're divided. Sometimes people have to stand up for what they believe, and I don't blame them for doing that. I've been doing it my whole life. Thank you. Next.
Yeah. Thank you. We all do. I had a question real quick. You gave us the date for the LAC event is June. I thought it was May.
Oh, did I say June?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's May.
Thank you. I was like,
It's that Thursday, the same Thursday week, and I don't remember, of Mother's Day. We like to combine those together.
Okay, yeah, I know I have it on my calendar, so do I have to change
All right.
it? So
Thank you
okay.
very much.
No, thank you for updating us. All right.
Do you need a photographer for that event? Do you need a photographer for that event?
We actually have somebody, everybody's welcome to come and take pictures of us, and just as long as they don't take a picture of me, I'm fine.
Don't want to break their camera.
All right, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are a couple of things. I want to thank the, what do they call it? Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association for, and the West, and the neighborhoods, well, all the neighborhood associations kind of got together to do the candidate forum. Want to thank them for their efforts for that. I thought it was a good forum. It was a lot of fun to be there and be a part of that. And I appreciate that a lot, the CD6 candidate forum. And the community center cleanup was held, it'll be a week and a half ago now. It was an amazing event. I want to especially thank McNary Air Force ROTC, Keizer First, and Clear Lake wards of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Councilor Starr, Mayor Clark, Chief Teague, our very own Tim Wood, members of the Clyde Creek Watershed Council, and some many, many others that came to make that a fun event. It went a little longer than we had anticipated, but it was, then it started raining on us when most of the people left. But Councilor Starr was a trooper and didn't crash the vehicle. Anyway, attended the long-range planning meeting last Monday. It was very exciting, and we've got a little bit of more work to do on some of those. And then this last Saturday, I was privileged to be a part of a National Eagle Scout Association scholarship review committee. I got to review 10 different Eagle Scout applications. That was a lot of fun. It just kind of goes to prove how we're handing off our nation to a good bunch of young people, restore confidence in everything that's going on. So, and that's what I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Council President Smith, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Don't have a lot tonight because I did get back, so I just wanted to say thank you for all y'all for holding down the fort while I was gone. And now I'm back, and just a quick happy birthday to my mom. She turned 80 on March 2nd, so, which is pretty cool. We actually got everybody on a Zoom call, set her all up. She didn't know what we were doing. Set her up, and we had my nephews who were in Japan, China, nephew on the East Coast. And just, I messaged her and I said, I need you. And she thought something was wrong. And I said, join this Zoom link. And so she got to see like 35 grandkids on there. I have a huge family. I'm 6 out of 7 kids. So it was awesome. And so happy birthday to Mom. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you very much. And your mom is an awesome person. I did get to work with her on a committee where her expertise as the historian for the Shemawa Indian School was invaluable.
Coming out.
Absolutely. Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder, if anybody would like to participate in the April 1st Child Abuse Prevention Car Parade, we can have 199 cars, so please register early. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Duran.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple things, which is unusual, but I thought I'd do it. So I went to the Greater Gubser Neighborhood Candidate Forum with Councilor Kohler. I wanted to thank Patty Tischer and Jane Herb for putting that on. They took the brunt of that and did most of it, and they did a great job. It was nice hearing from both sides of the field on that, so I wanted to thank them. I went to the Latino Business Alliance last week, and that was a little bit new for me to try and say my name in Spanish and my business name, but it was great. It was a huge, a lot of people there, and it was nice to see different people than I usually see at the Keizer Chamber. And then I was involved in the Keizer Chamber, the Keizer Fest, looking at the park last week, and that dirt is there's lots of holes in that dirt. So they're gonna have quite the fun rolling that out, but it should be great. Having the Keizer Fest move to Keizer Rapids Park, I think is gonna be an awesome event, and I know we'll get to hear about that here in the next couple of weeks. So that's what I had.
All right, thank you very much. I just have a couple of things to add to all of these great reports. So we won an Oscar. So last Friday night, a week ago Friday night, Councilor Reed, Councilor Starr and I were able to attend the National Association of Women in Construction. They did their annual dinner. They've done a series of events that recruit young women into the trades in construction. They do a lot of recruiting for CTEC, the Career Technical Education Center. 3 of the new CTEC students, young women, were there at the dinner, and they get some great mentorships. They form some relationships with women who are in construction, so they can have people that they can come alongside them as they move forward in their careers. So among all the different activities, they did pick a favorite movie. Everybody was at their tables, kind of an icebreaker, and then acted out. So then they had all sorts of fun Oscars, and we won one for, it was Team Infinity, as we did a scene out of Toy Story about the claw. But it was a lot of fun, and also featured getting to know the new basketball team that is now open here in Salem, the Salem Capitals. A lot of the players, they live here, work here, and just tremendous young men that are now, like we have with the Mavericks baseball, we now have professional grade basketball right here. And the picture I posted on Facebook wasn't one of the players. He's the manager, and he's 7 feet tall. So he wasn't standing on anything. We're just next to each other. Yeah. So. That's right. So it was a lot of fun, but it was a great way to show our support and show up and really support women in our community who are professionals in construction, and that have worked really, really hard to build up their ranks in the trades. So congratulations to NAWIC, and with that, make sure everybody gets to construction. They are going to be constructing out of food cans a replica of Multnomah Falls. So that's going to be beginning construction on April 30th down at the Grand Theater in Salem. All the cans that are used for that construction will then be donated upon completion of the week to the Marion Polk Food Share. So this is an effort of team engineering, construction, and then everything then gets passed on to the food share. So they are looking for sponsorships, and I want to thank Councilor Smith for Caliber Home Loans and Councilor Duran for Classic Homes joining me in actually being one of the sponsors for that event. So I figured the two that are in construction areas might want to chip in, and gee, they said yes. Don't worry if you feel left out, you didn't get asked, I'll tap you up for other stuff. I wanted to turn into one of your more expensive friends. So, but it's such a great opportunity to be able to contribute for food and for helping women enter into these very important trades. The other thing I want to say a big thank you, huge thank you to all of you for approving the fee waiver for the Joys of Living assisted dog graduation event. That was Saturday night. Christian Bouvier and her staff, the people who organized this had nothing but great things to say. They're never going to go anywhere else. It was so well done. It was so welcoming. There were over 150 people there. It celebrated the graduation of 15 dogs and their people. It was an evening of, tears of joy, of accomplishment, and really highlighted an organization that started right here in the garage of Keizer resident Joy St. Peter. And from that, she brought Assistance Dogs Internationals here and has helped people learn to be socializers, has partnerships with the Oregon Department of Corrections, with the Oregon State Hospital for teaching the cues that the dogs need to appropriately respond to the disabilities and the needs of people who are getting these dogs. And we all know that not all disabilities are visible. So with these abilities, they've gone from 35 cues that these dogs learn to 95, and they're still adding as they learn more and more about how dogs can provide independence and security for people in our community. 5 of the recipients this year were veterans, and they were given the dogs. Their fees for training and so forth were paid for by very generous donors. Also very special was the partnership with the Eastern Oregon Correctional Institute. There are dog socializers there, and they were able to watch the entire evening via live stream. They saw the dogs that they socialized now with their people and know that they made a difference in the lives of each person that received a dog that night. Funds were raised and ongoing work is being done, so there'll be another series of graduations next year with 2023 as more dogs are trained and prepared to assist people in our community. So huge thank you to everybody who was involved. It was an evening of Too Cute. When they showed the puppy pictures of these dogs, oh my gosh, everybody melts, these cute little faces. But then to see what these dogs do for people, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was fantastic. So congratulations to everybody, and really look forward to seeing more of this growing in our community this upcoming year. Announcement for something coming up is this week is the Great Raindrop Scavenger Hunt. So this is being put on by our Environmental Division, and is a scavenger hunt at Wallace House Park. And you can do little QR codes, and you can learn about groundwater and the sources of our drinking water. You can learn all about water here in Keizer, and it's a fun thing for keeping kids occupied during spring break. And even if it's raining, we're Oregonians, we go outside. So enjoy a walk in the park with your friends. Search for the 4 hidden raindrops. They have a QR code attached to them, and you can learn some more about water conservation. And maybe next year, save on your water bill. Right, Mr. Wood? And don't forget, the community dinner is this Wednesday, starting at 4:30. Is that correct? At St. Edward's Church. So tacos. We'll get those tacos. All right, fabulous. Let's see if I covered everything. Oh, I do want to, gosh, good thing I brought all this stuff here with me. I do want to thank the Keizer Chamber of Commerce for hosting the State of the City address on last Tuesday, and to the sponsors, PGE and the law firm of Kevin Mannix. It was very well attended, and it's so much fun to brag on this great city and the people here and how much people get involved, show up and care and keep working to build as broad and inclusive and caring community for everyone. So thank you for being awesome and making my job that much easier. All right, that's all I have tonight. Let's get back to my agenda, and we're down to the end of it. So, agenda input. We will meet again on April 4th at 7 p.m. in regular session. On April 6th, we have a work session regarding the library. On April 11th, we will have a work session starting at 6 p.m. talking about the turf fields proposal with Marion County. And on April 18th at 7 p.m., we will meet in regular session. Is there anything else that I missed? Councilor Herrera?
I just wanted to mention, last week, or I think it's been like 10 or 12 days now, we lost a really giant, Salem's most famous citizen, Jerry Frank, and who happened to be a friend. And he was amazing. I don't know if you did anybody get to meet Jerry Frank? He's a wonderful man. And I'll never forget the last conversation I had, me and Councilor Bruce Anderson at the time. And I just appreciate all he's done. I mean, the guy was best-selling author, civic. He started off, I don't know if you know, but he started off as Mark Hatfield's chief of staff back in the day. And he was an amazing human being, and I was fortunate and blessed to have known him. So my condolences to all the family. And by the way, they're having a big event on May 19th at the Salem Convention Center in his memorial for Jerry Frank. So everybody's invited. I'm sure I'll be there. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much. A lot of people don't know that the Meyer and Frank store downtown, that he was the Frank of the Meyer and Frank, but so much more. But I can never think of chocolate cake without thinking about Jerry Frank. There we go. Yes, Councilor Kohler.
You mentioned something about the turf field. I didn't see that here on the agenda.
That's the work session. There's the April 11th, and then we've added in a work session on April 6th to talk about the issue with, or the opportunities with library. So we've got two work sessions. Yes, that was the only date that Debbie could find that we could all get there. So she's been calling all y'all, so if you didn't answer her call. So.
Everybody did finally.
Okay, everybody got a hold. Okay, so that is in addition to what we have on our agenda tonight, is April 6th, starting at 6 p.m. Talk about opportunities with the Keizer Community Library and ARPA.
Thank you.
Council President Smith.
Oh, just one last thing. I don't know who, but can somebody fix that light?
We tried. We'll try again.
I'm like watching you guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It is distracting as all get up.
I'm just glad you don't have epilepsy. That could be really bad. Yeah, we'll have to either do that or pull that bulb. All right. With that, the time is 9:28 and we are adjourned. Thank you all.